Thanks for coming out tonight. I'm Brendan Smith. I'm the Arts and Humanities Coordinator for the City of Takoma Park, and this is another event in our series that used to be called We Are Takoma and is now called Takoma Park Arts. And if you didn't pick up a brochure on your way in, you can grab one on your way out. We've got art exhibitions, film screenings, lectures, concerts. Although we take a little break over the summer, we do have an art opening on July 11th. So in any case, thank you all for coming out for our annual open poetry reading, and I'm going to hand things over to the Takoma Park Poet Laureate, Kathleen O'Toole. Thanks again.
Okay. Oh, we have new equipment this month. I am delighted to welcome you all to our annual open mic. I see a few familiar faces, people who've read in the regular Third Thursday series, and I'm also welcoming our listening audience, since we do record these for the Takoma Park television station, public access TV. So I have to confess that since this is my first year as the Poet Laureate of Takoma Park, I have never attended the open mic poetry reading. So Brendan and I are both kind of new, and so what we decided as the rules for tonight is that we're going to ask each poet. I know several people said, oh, I only brought one poem. That's fine. Give it to us good. And if you brought more, we'd ask you to keep it to 2 or 3 poems or 5 minutes. So just shoot for the 5 minutes. And then, as I said to our friends over here, we'll see how long that goes. And if it goes really short, I might ask anybody else who's got one additional to do a little, closeout round. Does that sound okay? Yeah. All right. So I am going to start with one very short poem. I'll be the warm-up act. And then I will call on you as you have signed up on the sheet for tonight. And then I'll do a poem or two at the very end. Okay? So I was trying to think of summer poems, since we're moving tomorrow into summer officially. And I decided to bring a poem that's a fairly new one, perhaps because I managed to get to a yoga class yesterday. I brought a poem that I call Sky Asana, and that sky is S-K-Y-E, as in the Isle of Skye, which my husband John and I visited last August. So I'll start with that. Sky Byway Asana. One-way coast lanes that would take your breath away. Seascapes with giant rocks spewed from ancient volcanoes, media triggered. A geologist's dream landscape, moon rocks dropped like dripped sandcastles. Behind them, intrepid sheep, crouched as if meditating. On a lay-by, I can no longer resist finding my own ground, footfall to bridge earth, sky and sea with breath. My body the conduit, inhaling sun warmth, exhaling energy from uncombusted peat and heathered bogs below my feet. New prana flows in and through me, radiant. Okay, so our first reader will be Linda Rabin. I should have asked you all how to pronounce your names. Did I get it, Linda? Okay.
Today is World Refugee Day. So the first poem that I'll read is called The Exile, and it's based on several true stories. Far from the forests he knew and the country he'd fled, where the earth was red and the houses round with conical tops and daub and wattle walls, he found a refuge. This scruffy wood, a secondary forest on the suburban edge. Homeless, unemployed, bereft of even a car to sleep in, he squatted in an abandoned shack. 4 walls, a roof and a door, but no windows. His shelter and his prison. In a shallow, polluted creek, he washed his hands and face, anxiously raising his head. But no one came to rob him or even to talk. He made friends with a spider and came to know the fallen trees, the dark gray rocks at the edge of the stream, and the pale morning light creeping under the door, waking him from unremembered dreams that had something to do with the home he had lost. He could not forget the Civil War, the families fleeing into the forest. He remembered the children by the side of the highway, wanting desperately to beg from passing drivers, but too traumatized to put out their hands. Perhaps they'd been forced to kill their fathers and rape their mothers. But this wood is in another world, an easier world to bear, though it too is hard to live in alone, without family, friends, or money, a clean shirt and socks, or a tie. Early in the morning, he would leave the woods and look for work that paid enough to buy 3 meals. But this was not the work he'd trained and lived for. At home, he'd been a teacher. Here, he was just another unemployed, homeless man with dark skin and dirty clothes. But one spring day, he left the shack and found help, a room with windows and work on a farm in the country. It still wasn't what he had come to the promised land to find. Now, he has to relearn the language of expectation, the words he forgot in that shack in the woods, the simple sounds of a life he never again can call normal. In a lighter vein, this one is called The Dancer from the Dance, and the epigraph is from a poem by W.B. Yeats called Among School Children. The epigraph is, "O body swayed to music, O brightening glance, how can we know the dancer from the dance?" Jiggling, swaying, stepping lightly, I was doing the samba in the middle of the dance floor, alone as usual, not caring because it was good, so good to move in controlled abandon, when a face swam up to my face, a young black man with dreadlocks tied back, and began to dance the dance with me, making moves I don't even know the names of, and me shimmying in a way my mother definitely would not approve of, while he, right up against me, fitting around the curve of my body, shimmied too. So close, I had to move slightly away. We silently danced like that, together but not together, until the music stopped and he walked off, saying nothing. "Obrigada," I wanted to cry. I've never done that before with a partner. But he was already too far away in every sense. Nevertheless, for several days after, I remembered and felt myself smiling, even glowing in triumph and embarrassment. The last one is called So It Goes. The far shore is the near shore now. Almost imperceptibly, we have slipped through the water, no longer on the way to forever, but steadily nearing a transformation into some other kind of matter, perhaps a part of the shore, or the water that licks the shore's lip, or the air that breezes above its upturned face, softly ruffling the leaves as if they were strands of fine hair, or the tiny creatures that compost us. Thank you.
Dave Follick. Let me say that so that everyone can hear. Dave Follick, welcome.
I'm not a pro so I might be nervous. When I read it at home or on the bus on the way over here, it was fine. Yeah, this is a poem based on me going to eat at this certain Chinese restaurant in Leonia, New Jersey. But everything contained in the poem is fictitious, except for what I ordered. So the poem's called Funland. I stole her away. I did. I stole her away. I went into her restaurant and stole her away. She has a Chinese restaurant. She ran it with her husband. I fell in love with her the first time I ordered steamed vegetable dumplings. Of course, I couldn't do anything. She was married. Please, I am a gentleman. But I think one time when I ordered extra rice, our eyes met. They did. Our eyes met. I melted. She turned away from me and yelled, "Jafon," or more rice in Chinese. Then she turned back toward me and said, "It'll be right here, sir." Sir. She called me sir. With tenderness and kindness and reassurance that my rice would come. The next day, I came back. She smiled with eyes so soft, asking me, "Steamed vegetable dumplings?" I knew then that we would be together. From that point on, I came back every Tuesday for weeks. Sometimes it was an extra fortune cookie, or extra rice on the house, or sometimes her fingertips gently caressed my hand as she gave me my change. One day, she told me how she felt about me. Not directly, of course, but through a tofu and vegetable entree she didn't charge me for. When I was finished the last piece of tofu and the last piece of vegetable, I opened up my fortune cookie. There was a note inside. You will meet a Chinese woman who left her husband months ago. The guy in the back is my brother. Staring at the note, my mouth agape, I managed to stand and hold myself up with my hand on the back of the chair. I walked slowly to the counter where she stood taking orders over the phone and where it had all started when I first ordered steamed vegetable dumplings. I looked into her eyes. "Put down the phone," I said, and as she did so, I took her hand and stole her away. Thank you.
The next reader will be Liz Davenport.
Good evening. I am a fledgling writer of poetry, only in the last 4 years, And this is my first reading in this venue this evening. So I'm grateful to be here. What I'd like for you to do is imagine a group therapy session among the planets in our solar system. And they're sitting, discussing their struggles and their challenges. It's Mother Earth's turn. So she begins to share the lyrics of her latest blues tune. And the title is Mother Earth Sings the Blues. What to do? What can I do? I got the gas planet blues. Used to be mountains spewing. Used to be sands a-blowing. Till folks came rock and rollin'. What to do? What can I do? I got the gas planet blues. Ozone pole is on the mend. Smog below is no one's friend. Fossil fuel burns every day. What to do? What can I do? I got the gas planet blues. Folks are living fast and free. Cars and planes and boats and beef. Coal and oil feed climate woes. What to do? What can I do? I got the gas planet blues. Looking at Extinction 6. Missing my distinction mix. Folks will cry, live for today. What to do? What can I do? I've got the gas planet blues. Thank you.
I remember Liz coming to one of the monthly poetry readings and asking about connecting to this community. So that was quite a debut. Thank you. Next, Jonathan Katz.
I picked these two poems with a purpose, because I like to encourage people to write poems to people they care about. Relatives, friends, people that you don't know. So I picked a poem that's written to a relative and a poem that's written to a friend. And I hope when you hear them, you'll say, I can do a lot better than that, and go home and write a poem. The first one is to my sister. It's called My Sister. This poem turned out a lot shorter than I had expected, like a path through trees in the leafy time of year, when, with little light and no sense of ultimate direction, you make one turn, then another, and another, and arrive at a clearing from which the way is obvious. My expectations of a longer work were based on rooted wonders, buds, and blossoms crying to be plucked from a forest of memory and arranged like ikebana with a balance and aesthetic. So the themes would be displayed and all could follow. These go even deeper than the fertile things of beauty only you could make, and honeysuckle so much pleasure in our parents' prideful eyes. No, I'm referring to our talents, unfulfilled as well as realized, co-starring in the cartoon of our lives with relatives, the soap opera of our parents' hopes for us, which we know outran all hopes for themselves, to births and deaths, and far beyond to dying, actually, to all the moments and events that we could name, and I am saying these are wondrous, yes, and are the flora in our greenhouse, and even more the binding joy and sorrow of experience and observation shared in context, calling this one weed, that a volunteer, and these bouquet and those disasters unredeemed by any metaphor. All of this is almost what I've come to value most. The path that passes wonders is the phone call in the night. Your voice, your ear, the fact that you are there, the vast acreage canopied. That was my sister. So this one is a poem for a faraway childhood friend, and it's written for a faraway childhood friend. His mother, in her mid-90s, passed away recently, and his father was a cardiologist, and his mother, a very educated woman, and very, very influential to me from a very different background when I was a child. Mom passed was enough to bridge the river of time. There must be deep reasons you played tennis, and I played basketball, and you played bridge, and I played poker, and you played the French horn, and I played the clarinet, and nothing stopped us from finding a little space and enough time to play chess together. I remember telling your father how much I admired Thomas More and his easy access to basic sentiment, and how I didn't understand why all the textbooks considered him minor. And the heart doctor kindly asked me, had I thought that perhaps it was because of his easy access to basic sentiment that opinion of him was so low. In a sentence, your dad taught me much that I needed to know about art and the value of nuance, at least in the eyes of the educated. I remember, too, the challenge of buying your birthday present, which turned out to be a record, a random recording of Beethoven's Fifth, for the couple of dollars a 10-year-old son of a post office clerk had to spend, knowing that there were definitive versions in sets you and your folks would know about, but you would understand all that I meant by the gift of that artifact, and that would be more than enough. I experienced your mom in enough of the same ways that you did to feel the love that conveyed high expectations, at the same time imparting encouragement and resulting in your confidence and capacity for philanthropy. I both admired and envied instinctively, neither being native to me. My own mother gave me a doll when I was 20, a big dog doll, floppy ears and breadloaf muzzle, red, glassy eyes. It stood firm on its 4 strong feet. She had always meant to give me a doll, she said, and better late than never. It's the function of certain objects, I've learned, to embody an affect that could otherwise only be transmitted in a hug, eloquent, if inarticulate, like the hug I would give you at this moment, now that both our moms have included us in a new dimension of dialogue. Thanks.
Ellen Cole.
Hello, can you see me? I usually bring a stool. I've read in this series a number of times, and it's always a pleasure. Although the last time I came, I did bring a stool, actually. So this poem is called Haiku. it's not a haiku. Haiku. I live with a parrot who can't fly. I call her Haiku. She is elegant, compact. I take her to the vet 3 times a year so her wing feathers can be clipped. I apologize to her for this every day. She is a creature made to lift into the air. How can she be a bird without flight? She is a red-bellied parrot from Eastern Africa. We know she's female because her belly is gray, not red. Her rump and underparts flash turquoise. She is prey and afraid of everything new. My house is a death trap for birds. Ceiling fans invite decapitation. Toilets drown. Mirrors and windows can cuss. If she flew out an open door, she would die. A tropical bird wouldn't survive our Maryland winters. Foxes and red-tailed hawks prowl the neighborhood. I wish Haiku safe. Every day, safe. She lived in a pet store in a small cage. Fingers poked at her all day. 3 months passed by before she would perch on my finger, allow me to rub the tiny gray-green feathers on top of her head. Now she preens the small hairs on my arms and face, rides on my shoulder, cries out to me when I leave the room. She imitates my voice. She clings to me ferociously, regurgitates food on my arm, tries to feed me as if I were her chick, her mate. Hello, she says when I come in. I love you, she says when we sit together on the couch. Perhaps she knows what these things mean. Perhaps not. I imagine a small feathered being who loves me sits on my chest. Dr. Schwartz cuts off 6 flight feathers from each wing. Haiku does not scream as parrots do, but cries out once each time he snips. I don't think this poem requires any explanation. The exquisite pleasure of smallness. My niece Elizabeth is 22 and only 4'7". People say, "Are you officially a dwarf?" She says, "No, I'm unofficially an elf." I'm 4'9". People say, "Short, aren't you?" People say, "Do you mind if I call you little one?" I say, "My husband is 6'4". He's always bumping his head on ceiling fans and low-hanging ferns. Everything is too big. SUVs, Big Macs, big gulps, supersized men in hats who always sit in front of you at the movies. I love Elizabeth. Doll houses, demitasse spoons, pomegranate seeds, miniature poodles, tiny portraits painted on antique brooches, a petite dollop of cream served on a single blueberry. Thank you.
Next up, Jill Raymond. Okay.
Hello. I'm not really a poet, but I have my dearest people in the world sitting here who are, and they have tutored me a bit. And at one point, we wrote poems together. And one that I wrote out of that experience and also out of being the youngest of 3 girls, I have a poem called Three Sisters, and it actually speaks equally well, I think, to each set of 3s. We are each other's eyes and ears, footfalls, tentative and brief, on landscape laced with minds laid in another time. A length of purple silk secures us, frail and fractured, when each would blow untethered in an unforgiving gale. We tie down together, face our ghosts, from now, from then, from yet to come, and try for brave, our little host. Hearts, hands, fingers, we take up pens, keyboards, microphones, keeping faith with words, and spirits, trio choruses through time, who will be heard. When night sweeps over, black and unrelenting, we 3 collect like penguins facing inward, huddled, helpless but not cheerless, backs against the wind. Our trio's breath keeps the frost and the fear from breaking in. And then one I call Tiny Insults and a Few Enormous Ones. One by one, they take you down. You look out on a world lovely only yesterday and find it is beyond tears. Children in a prior age, elders in the new. Some Friday nights we revisit the tap rooms of our younger selves. We search each other's eyes. How did we get here? It gets quiet. We try hope. It doesn't seem to work the way it's supposed to. Someone holds an election 6,000 miles from here, and suddenly the horizon goes away. So we say, perhaps there is nothing but the hope of crows. They fling into the driving rain, determined there will be food. It's just what they do. When the light is gone, they tuck their beaks and brace against the night. So one more time, the champagne stoppered and ignored for another year, when some slight harbinger of the day we know is possible will show itself. Thank you.
Jill, methinks thou dost protest too much. There's some poetry in there, yeah? And now Judy Neri, could we have the hand mic, please? Yep. He's got to sit down.
Oh, I see. He's doing.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello. Thanks everyone for coming. Here we go. We're getting there. This is a poem I wrote for my dad. It's called. My dad was a psychiatrist, and this is called "The Mind-Body Problem" for Dad. The mind requires a home of bone to frame for itself an attic of thoughts and give the flesh its living room, as we need the earth to have astronauts. How can you savor the thought of pear without the juice dripping down your chin? How sad to favor the thought of love with no epidermis to put it in. But when your mind has got the grumps, it's damned inconvenient to feel the pain in stomach or kidney or joints or nerves, and worse, to hear that it's all in the brain. At times like these, you would like clear borders between body and mind, with passports, a wall, and strict customs agents guarding the gates, not two-faced Janus passing through all.
Right. And someone else came in. Were you planning to read or just to listen? Okay. All right. Then Quasar, you're up.
Hi, folks. It's good to be back. Good evening to you all. I'm going to read 3 poems. I can't really introduce these poems to you because they're from another culture. How this all happened to me is mysterious. A spirit came by and it slowly grew on me. These 3 poems are from a book I've been putting together for a quarter of a century called Huitzilopochtli, the Aztec Book of Light. Now, Huitzilopochtli is said to have been for the Aztecs, the guide god, the one who got them to their spot in the lake where they built Tenochtitlan, the war god, and the sun. But much of that is propaganda. This is what comes through me, though it's from another place completely. Okay, this is the opening poem, Building a New Highway into Light's Home. Huitzilopochtli number 12. The names come hunting and haunting down the snake path of time, gathering color and glinting footsteps as they come. Blue Tezcatlipoca on the left, billowing in hot mist, and Quetzalcoatl, the serpent emplumed, on the right, shimmering from green to blue and back again. The names come hunting and haunting down the snake path of time. It is I they hunt, it is I they haunt. Tezcatlipoca lurches forward, his left foot the sea, his right a volcano in blast and lava flow. Quetzalcoatl flies a streaming sky's light, his scales rooting into the lives of the jungle. Zalco's coat is woven of clouds, both high and low. Zalco's eyes are sunset and sunrise. Tezcat dreams in the rock, hunts in the fog. They have a brother of another color, red, yellow, white, who is them both. One who wears a name of light, a pulsing name of light inside. Huitzilopochtli bleeds their meanings like wet dyes. Huitzi constructs its transformations in jump cuts. Each time it stamps its name into mind, the edges of opposites further coalesce and fuse. Huitzilopochtli guides from gut and mind. Tezcatlipoca and Quetzalcoatl are night and day. In Huitzilopochtli they intertwine and shine as time's life growing. It is their many-colored sound that breathes. Tezcatlipoca and Quetzalcoatl rumble and shimmer, fume, spit, and twitter in turns. Sideways and tideways they tumble and rush, each as the other through Huitzilopochtli, the guide god whose instinct changes in mind. In Huitzilopochtli they intertwine and shine as time's life growing. Your third hand turns the corner. Huitzilopochtli number 3. This shows the transformation here from hundreds of years ago. Your third hand turns the corner. Huitzilopochtli lifts off from its past like a rocket from its pad. Huitzilopochtli sheds its cultures as a rocket burns off its boosters. Huitzilopochtli is high beyond the stratosphere and streaming in the transformation sphere. Huitzi is rising to meet its solar self-shine. When Huitzilopochtli is one, sun faces turn to taste the fertile mystery. Huitzi is above ground and below at the same time. Huitzi is in your mind and sky shine, same time. With his third hand, Huitzilopochtli turns the mystery so you can more fully see. Huitzilopochtli loves one thing more than all, teaching you to swim without fins, deep in the love shine of the solar sea. There is so much light you cannot sink, but deeper into the source of radiance. Huitzilopochtli is the joyous compass, but you are the pole. It's your turn now. Take Huitzi's hand and shine. Take his third one. Blinds fall off the sun. Closing poem. This is where everything comes together. And my rejection of the propaganda. Just the light. Huitzilopochtli, number 60. Huitzilopochtli on live. The Holy Spirit stripped bare. No culture as clothes, no ritual as atmosphere, no priest to cover up the light. No sacrifices, no blood on the knives, no bleeding on the temple steps, no lives. Cut. Just the light, the pure, the naked light. Just the power to jump the ages. Just the living light that crosses the vacuum void and screams in my heart, I shine, just the pure light, I shine. Thank you.
Have we missed anybody that wanted to read? I think we've got everybody on the sheet. Okay, then I am going to close us out with two short poems. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to offer you the opportunity to hang around for a couple of minutes and have some refreshments if you can. And also, for those of you that keep an eye on these things, there is going to be a call for poets for next year's Third Thursday series, but we're shaping it a little bit differently. There are going to be some themed readings and some open readings. So if you have not signed up for our email list, there's a sign up out there that you can get notice probably sometime in July if you happen to be interested in a particular theme like environment, which we heard tonight, or social justice themed poems. There are going to be a number of things. So rather than just all being open readings, we'll have some special themed readings next year as well. So look for that. I think Linda's poem honoring World Refugee Day made me think of, I worked for Catholic Relief Services, my last day job, and this was not people who were in fact refugees, but this was written in a village in Malawi, which is a place was also affected by the big typhoon this year. So I am imagining there are probably a lot of refugees from there moving around. Dust is the name of the poem, and it was written about Mbawa village, Malawi. We kick up dust arriving in our 4x4s. The women of Balaka district greet us with singing and dancing. In bright chitangas, they celebrate what they have learned to keep their children healthy. Scores of them sit with their babies on blankets like at a picnic. Only no lush grass, no hampers overflowing with food. Here they feed the little ones from plastic bowls of maize and moringa porridge, first tasting each spoonful to check that it's not too hot. Then Beatrice leads a group of sisters in white logoed t-shirts who give a cooking lesson, showing off the hearty dishes they have prepared with ground nuts and locally grown maize, with peanut and cassava flour, relishing parts of the pumpkin we'd throw away, pumpkin leaf and tomato stew with meatballs, pumpkin blossoms battered into tasty fritters, treats for their children to carry to school, their husbands to field or market. The elders exult that Mbawa village was chosen to lead this effort, one they hope will continue. But the women are the stars here, bright and numerous as the descendants God promised Abraham and Sarah. A multicolored circle of chitangas wraps us into their dance of gratitude, women drumming, women singing, women kicking up the dust with babies strapped to their backs. We are dancing too, our feet following their lead, our hearts, their exuberance, buoyed by their hope, tempered like iron at the forge. The sight of a line of somber boys playing with an old tire beneath a baobab injects a counterpoint into the singing, minor chords of bitterness from dreams denied. Still, the vibration of all that's hoped for lingers in the air, stirring questions, why and how and when, persistent as dust. And then I'll end with, I was trying to think of, I guess I'm thinking all outdoor poems, maybe my move into summer. This is a little poem that was written, I'm a part of a lay Benedictine group at a monastery in Baltimore, and they have a labyrinth out behind the monastery, and this came out of my walking the labyrinth. Labyrinth walking meditation. Breezy question marks of pine in a blue August sky, cipher of a woolly caterpillar promising a mild winter. Brown weed seam in the granite spiral of labyrinth, each step raking aside the overgrowth in my path. Purple flower of doubt. What am I to do today besides dying? My father's unvoiced question leaves me silent. What it takes to embrace my own, will I cultivate what it takes to embrace my own death with such grace? For now, I can only throw myself at the Virgin's feet, weave a chain of intercession, monarch butterfly, honey bee, katydid thrumming around the last buddleia, black-eyed Susan. A whirlwind inside my head, the breaking dams of Pakistan terrorize millions, already migrants, the last combat troops leaving an 8-year trail whose pretext still screams bloody M. Meanwhile, my own tiny anthill of grief is growing grain by persistent grain. Thank you so much for coming, everyone, both poets and listeners and poet lovers. And please join us for a few quick refreshments and get to know each other a little. And we look forward to seeing you again in the fall when we'll start our regular Third Thursday season on the third Thursday of September. Thank you.